Hi, I'm Bryn Booth, and I'm a resident actor here at the Rogue Theater and the Ensemble leader.
And what did you want to be when you grew up?
An actor, always.
Do you remember the first play you ever saw?
Yes, actually. It was, oh God, I have such a fond memory. So I was in fourth grade. My class took a field trip to this, little playhouse that was some theater playhouse for children's theater. And it was a play about the Wright brothers. I was awestruck by this production. I cried. I couldn't stop talking about it. They had a plane in the background, and it was just so beautiful. And probably in reality, it was a small little black box theater with really small and minimal stunts. But to me, it was the most magical thing I had ever seen. And it was one of those where I was like, yep, that's my job. That's what I'm going to do. It makes me think anytime there are students that come see our shows, I always think there's going to be one of those students in the crowd that sees this show and thinks, that's what I'm going to do with my life.
That's my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to I was in the BFA acting program at U of A, and so that was a lot of my training. In high school, I did things like Christian youth theater, so that was, I think, probably less like actor training and more performance training.
Was there any particular technique or theory while you were in the program at the U of A that you struggled with?
I did struggle with vocal projection. My biggest acting weakness was I would act on emotion and not action. And I would tend to just throw it all into my throat. And so you wouldn't even be able to hear what I was saying.
So it was authentic, but it wasn't intelligible.
Yeah, I'll never forget this. My professor, Brent, he said to me, Bryn, you have a beautiful well of emotion. No one will care if they can't understand you. And it was absolutely right. Like, I needed to learn how to get across the emotion I'm feeling without hurting my voice, so that I can do long runs of shows, but also making sure the audience can hear me, because if they can't hear me, there's no point in us telling this story. I think there's such beauty in it because there's such science to it. Once you find your powerhouse and realize that your body is a soundboard, and you just find where in your body to put the sound, it almost becomes effortless. You just have to figure out how your body and sound marry each other. It's amazing.
What was your first experience acting at the Rogue like?
That was The White Snake, and I was so nervous because I had just graduated college, and so I was kind of in that state of my life where, I'm just like, I want to please everyone, I want everyone to like me, and everyone please like me. Everyone was wonderful when I came. Everyone was very welcoming, and
that never helps at first, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. Because that's a funny way, to put it. It was fun to come into an environment where I started noticing the collaboration, which has always been what I thought would be the most fun about theater, but I haven't necessarily gotten to do that before. And
until you came here.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of collaboration. I love minimalist theater. And other forms of theater are great too, but there's something really wonderful about minimalist theater that the Rogue does that really speaks to me. So that was wonderful to be able to be a part of.
Do you have a favorite part of the rehearsal process overall?
I love when we've got our blocking down, and then we're in working rehearsals, and that's when we really get to play with the work, and because it's a play, that's always my favorite part, because you really get to explore the character. You get to explore what works, what doesn't work. I have a lot of fun just throwing something against the wall, and sometimes it's an absolute flop. It does not work, and I've grown to be like okay with that and also amused by it. But how are you like supposed to learn what works and what doesn't work if you don't see what doesn't work?
So you recently became the Rogues Ensemble training coordinator.
Yes.
Can you tell me what that means and what you've learned since taking it on?
So every Sunday for the resident acting ensemble, we get together on Sundays from 11 to 1, and we do training exercises, whether that be just training to help us work together better as an ensemble, some actor training, some movement or vocal training, anything that might help us in the show or the season that we're doing. And I'm in charge of leading those exercises or choosing the exercises that we're doing and appointing someone to lead them. And what I've learned is it's okay not to have it all planned out, because I tried and that's impossible. Oh yeah, this is an ensemble. It doesn't all have to rest on me trying to figure out what we're doing. We come here to become a collective, to learn how to speak one language, and it's okay to just come and not know how it's going to turn out. That's what the ensemble's for.
As an actor, what do you think you bring to the ensemble that might be unique to you?
I bring goofiness, sometimes to help ease tension or whatever. I've brought that to the ensemble to kind of remind us to not take ourselves so seriously and to laugh a little bit.
And that's good to do, because we take everything so seriously around
here. Yeah.
You've been cast several times with Hunter as both lovers and siblings. What has that been like, and what have you learned working with him so closely?
He and I have such a genuine love for each other that working together is just so easy. It was funny because like in Awakening, when we had to kiss, our kiss had to be kind of technical because we were like passionate, but we had to turn around and sit down. And at one point there was one night where I missed his face, but I was trying to be passionate, so I just rammed my head into him, and like we whispered to each other. I was like, sorry. But yeah, we have such a genuine and real love for each other that it makes doing scenes like that very, very easy. Oh, and then there's the story of my sister. So Hunter and I, we did go to U of A together, and we've acted in several shows together before we came to the Rogue. And the first show was my sister saw him and me in it, and she comes up to me after and she goes, "Oh my God, Bryn, Hunter is so cute. You should marry him. Like, he's not interested in women and he's engaged." She goes, "Oh darn." And then the next show, she comes up to me again. She goes, "That guy named Hunter, oh my God, he's so cute. You should marry him." Like, no, we talked about this. Not interested in women, engaged. And then when he came to the Rogue, again, she was like, "Oh my God, Bryn, that guy Hunter is so cute. You guys are betrothed." And I was like, we've been through this. So it became this whole running joke. And then in Much Ado About Nothing, when Hunter and I were getting married, we took one of those photos like where, you know, we're around the corner holding hands in my wedding dress, and we sent it to her and we're like, it's happening.
What type of role or character would you like to play more of that you don't often get to?
Villains. I don't know what it is. Being a villain is so fun. Like, I've always been cast as the ingenue, and I was even told at one point that someone's like, "You're too nice to be an ingenue, or to be a villain." And I was like, well, that's why I'm an actor. And then they cast me as Regan, and I was like, okay, here we go.
Do you read reviews of the plays that you're in?
Sometimes. I don't seek them out. I think if someone sends them to me and is like, "Hey, they said this and this about you," I'm like, cool, I'll check it out. But for the most part, I try to stay away from reviews.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. It's not easy, but I'm a very sensitive person.
Yeah. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self now? about making a life in theater?
It's hard. It's okay to take time to figure yourself out. And if you aren't feeling ready to venture out into a big city, that's okay. There are other options. There are ways to have a fulfilling artistic career without going to one of those cities.
What's the most challenging part you've played at the Rogue?
One of the most technically challenging was Ruth in Blithe Spirit. That one required a lot of vocal technique because, one, using a British accent, two, Noel Coward has 45,000 words into one sentence, and you have to speak them fast, and you have to speak them in a rhythm so that you keep going with the rhythm of the scene. In a comedy, I would find myself just running out of breath to try and keep up with it, so that show was very technically difficult. Edna could be, I don't know if she was difficult necessarily, but what was a bit difficult was how closely my heart was to hers, and that required a lot of vulnerability. That was when it wasn't just me acting. It felt almost like I was just saying, this is who I am. And that can be really difficult to kind of reveal a broken heart in front of so many people. I think Moby Dick was one of the most physically intense shows I've ever done. Like, oh boy, we just ran a mile. Abigail was kind of a difficult role to play. A villain, so that's fun, but the whole possession scene was like, how do I make this so it's not like over the top, but also a little over the top.
Right. How you put the pedal to the metal without driving off the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a part you've played before that you'd like to, again, with more life experience behind you?
Juliet. I think there's such a depth to her that I had looked over from just like a read of the show. And I know I'm a bit old to play her now, but I was too old to play her then, so.
You could play Juliet for a while yet, I imagine.
Thank you.
What's it like being a sponsored actor at the Rogue?
It's very humbling to have someone look at you and say, I want you to tell this story. It means a lot. So it makes you, especially when they're the ones that come to the audience or come to the show that day, it gives you sort of pressure, like, okay, this has got to be the best performance ever. They've come here. I always, whenever we go to deliver the flower and the card, that is the most nerve-wracking situation ever. Like, one, I'm afraid I won't be able to find them in the crowd, and so I'll just have to throw the flower and run. Or, like, I'll trip on my way and rip a costume and everything will light on fire. Just every imaginable scenario goes through my head that, like, I'm terrified to hand the rose and the letter. But it is just a wonderful, wonderful way that we do things here, and very, very grateful for it.